Dear flower, welcome to your first tutorial to make your daisy flower using materials in your letter. You'll need your crepe paper, your wire and your template from your letter, and then glue and scissors to get you started. Now, starting with one of the white pieces of crepe paper, we will first stretch the paper out fully like you can see, and you'll notice that the paper will double in size. This will be the case for all of the crepe paper that's provided for you. Once that's done, you need to use your petal template to cut out the shape 8 times. Now, the easiest way to do that is to fold the paper multiple times like I'm showing here in order to be able to cut multiple petals at once. But you can also just cut each one individually if you find that is easiest. I would suggest not folding quite as many times as I have done here because it was a bit of a struggle to cut through all of that paper. But as you can see, that way I have all of the petals that I need for my daisy flower. Next, we're going to grab the yellow centerpiece. So this is going to be the center of our flower. And what we need is roughly half of this flower, which is why I'm folding it up in half. And that is what we're going to cut along. Now, this would have been easier to do before I stretched it out, but you live and you learn. So after I've folded it in half, I'm just going to cut all the way along the center, and we only need one of these pieces in order to create our center. You can also create a larger center, so if you wanted the center to be double the size of what we're going to create, you can just double up on the centerpiece. If that's something that you wanted, it just gives a different effect. So for the purposes of this tutorial, we're only going to use one of these strips of paper for our center. So we're just going to fold it up a few times because we need to create a fringe, and the easiest way to create a fringe is to do this folding method. And I do both sides. We're only going down 3/4 of the way down in order to make sure that we're creating a fringe and it's not going all the way through. And we do that for the whole piece so that when we open it up, you have a full fringe that is going to create the center of your daisy flower. So that's now your petals as well as your center of your flower complete. Now grab your larger green paper. This is the one that's going to be used for your sepal as well as your leaves. Now, once you stretch it out, then you need to cut one piece for your sepal and then 2 of your leaves for your flower. Now you can follow what I'm doing here, but you can also just cut those little zigzaggy triangles with a zigzag pair of scissors or create your own. It doesn't have to be exactly how the template is, as long as you get a rough zigzag shape for the top. So that's your sepal done, and you're going to repeat the same method that we use for our petals, which is just folding the paper around your template in order to cut multiples in one go. So we only need 2 here, so it's relatively simple. I'm just cutting all the way around the template and then doing the more detailed corners afterwards. So here you are now, you've got your 2 leaves, your sepal, your center and your petals, and the last thing that we are going to cut is your stem. Now, I've learnt my lesson, and here we are not stretching out the paper. We are just folding it up so that we can see clearly where how much of the stem we need to cut based on the template, and we need the full length, so you don't need to worry about measuring the length. Once it's stretched out, once you've cut it out, you just need to stretch it out like I've done here, fully. So that's now all of your pieces complete. Now we need to shape our pieces before we start to assemble. So all we're going to do with the petals is pinching the bottom and twisting it between our thumb and index finger in order to create this individual petal shape, and then you're just going to use your fingers like I'm showing here just to create a bit of a curve for your petals. You can also use the back of a ruler or a back of a scissors in order to shape these petals, and you do that for all 8 of the petals. Now you do the same thing with the leaves as well. So again, pinching the bottom and twisting it, and then just giving the leaves a bit of a curve so that you create that shape. With the center, we're just going to put it between our palms, and we're just going to turn it and roll it back and forth, and all that does is that it gives a nice effect to the paper by separating the fringe to be much more defined. But this isn't an important step, and if you prefer not to do it, then it can be skipped. It doesn't change the look of the flower. Now that we have everything together, we're going to start assembling, and you can see here I've just put a bit of glue and at the top of where I've already looped and created a loop of the wire for you. And we're just going to make sure that it sticks, and you try and keep it as tight as possible as you turn the center paper around itself, around that wire. Make sure that you just keep pinching it just to check that it's sticking, particularly if you're using regular glue. With the hot glue gun, it sticks very, very quickly, so I can feel that it's sticking. But you just need to make sure that you are it's as tight as you can, and then you can fluff out the top once you've rolled it all the way through. Next, we're going to start attaching our petals. And these I do across from each other. So I do the first 4 across from each other, and then I use the next 4 to fill in. So you can see here, so the first 2 are opposite each other, and the next 2 are going to be opposite them as well, and then going to fill out the gaps with the next 4 petals in order to get our 8-petal daisy. But it doesn't have to be as uniform as this. You can, of course, put your petals on as you wish. Not every daisy has to look exactly the same. Now, once you've put your petals on, you can also just make sure that the shape looks all right. So I often just check with my hands, just shaping the petals like I'm doing here, just so that it looks neat. And once you've got all your petals on, we're going to add the sepal, and that's to cover the bottoms of the petals and just to neaten it up. So we're going to put some glue at the sepal itself to attach it around the bottom of our petals. And then we're also going to twist the bottom of the sepal around our wire. So I'm just removing any excess paper. You can see I'm just rolling I just rolled the bottom of the sepal around the wire, and then we're going to grab our stem paper in order to start to cover up where the bottom of the sepal is. Now, in order to attach your stem, Do this at an angle. It means that you don't get the bulkiness of the stem and you use less paper for a neater finish. Now I do this by holding the stem with one hand and twisting it, while the other hand holds the stem paper at an angle to be guided by my rolling. And again, if you're using regular glue, I'd suggest that you put your glue on your stem and spread it thinly and then add it onto the wire. But again, for the glue gun, it just dries too quickly, so I'm doing it in stages. And as you can see, as you're adding your stem, you should also be adding your leaves at whatever point you think it looks good. And this can be anywhere in the stem. It's best to add them and wrap at the bottom of the leaf with the crepe paper for the stem, so it's more secure. However, if like me you forget about them, you can add them later using some of your green stem paper to wrap around a smaller area to attach your leaves. Once your wire is covered, then that is your daisy flower complete. Well done.